And welcome back. We are here with week five of the 2024 season for the NCAA, and this is the Division One recap. And we had a fantastic weekend. We had a very solid meet at the Tom Jones Memorial at the University of Florida, and a solid weekend overall. You had the Bryan Clay Invitational as well. So the two big meets certainly lived up to the hype. And if you were a track and field fan, you were really treated to a lot of great performances, videos, and marks. We saw some things that we hadn't seen in a while. We even had a world record, and that remains to be seen because it has to be ratified. So, what a weekend! Let's dive right into it and discuss again the Tom Jones Memorial. Excellent weekend, excellent meet this past weekend. A total of 24 new number one performances, and we'll discuss them here. So our first leg, as always, is the sprints and hurdles, and there were a total of five new number one marks on the men's side. And the first number one mark we'll look at is from Tarsus Orgo of Alabama. His name is regularly mentioned. He is always a serious competitor, and he proved that this weekend, beating Robert Gregory and Wanye McCoy at the Tom Jones Memorial, running a 19.9. He's our first sub 20 performer of the year for the college season. And that is a huge mark, and that clearly he's moving in the right direction. We're waiting to see how he performs at championship meets. He's, you know, not been the guy at those meets, but he's been a competitor. He's been a dark horse sometimes, and he's also been the expected champion, but yet he has no hardware. So, what will he do later this season? We don't know yet, but let's celebrate him for his top time that he has now. A 19.9 is nothing to ignore. Then we'll move to the 400, and what do you know? Christopher Morales Williams of Georgia is our guy. No shocker there. A 44.9 in the 400 to win at the Tom Jones Memorial. Still have yet to see him get to that low 44s. That's probably going to come later on this season. This is an Olympic year, and he is the Canadian, so he's expected to compete for Team Canada. So let's not, think, oh, he's going backwards. I don't know. Remember, his training is going to be a little different. And then moving to the hurdles, we had two incredible performances. One from Malachi Snow, a freshman at San Jose State, 13:33. Yes, freshman, a kid from Ohio. 13:33 at San Jose State. Clearly, they got it going on at San Jose State. He's not the only top tier athlete they've had. They have a phenomenal history, of course, but I think he has the latest super talent they've had. And for him to run a 13:3 at this height of hurdles compared to where they come as high school and junior athletes, that's an impressive mark. I look forward to seeing what else he's going to do this season. And then in the 400 hurdles, you had Chris Robinson of Alabama, and clearly they had a phenomenal weekend, Alabama. In the 400 hurdles, he clocks a 47.95. He is one of six men to break the 48-second mark in the 400 hurdles. One of the fastest in NCAA history. And that's during the regular season. There's still 2 more months to go. And I said on Facebook within one of the group chats, I said, I think he's going to lower that time again. I bet he does. 47.95 now. And Chris Robinson is, he's a very confident runner, just an outstanding hurdler at the same time. I want to see him lower that time personally, which is one of the reasons why I said that. But I'm convinced at his consistent development over the past couple years at Alabama that he is certainly capable of improving that time. And then our last big mark on the men's side came in the form of Auburn's 4x1. Whew, man, I think this is their year to win it because they're so far ahead of everyone else when it comes to the depth in the 100, and their exchanges just are flawless. Auburn 38-64. They're one of only two teams under 39 seconds, and to be fair, it is still April. But, we've seen Aprils where there's a load of 38-second teams, which is that magic number to be competitive. And right now, it's just Auburn and LSU. I also think that looking at Florida's team, they did not run the 4x1 with Wanye McCoy, and it kind of showed 39-49. I think that's probably one of the slowest competitive times I've seen them run in quite a while. And I'm willing to bet that they're going to change that. Mike Holloway always figures out a way to have a competitive relay, and he's got the squad to do it. I think there needs to be some healing of some injuries. There's also a slower development with it being some of these athletes are from different countries that are going to be competing in the Olympics, or at least their Olympic trials for their countries. So I think we're moving kind of slowly in the 4x1. I expect for that to change come conference championship season. Maybe even at the pin relays, we'll see some impressive marks. I look forward to seeing Auburn in person, and hopefully I'll have a video for you. I'm really expecting to have one, so look forward to that. On the women's side, we had an all-time performance, number two all-time. I cannot believe Dawn Sewell is now number three. She was number one forever, pretty much my entire young adult life. Um, 1077 for Jason Sears of Tennessee. And you've seen that video go around on social media. That was a phenomenal run. That is technically how you are expected to run the 100. She had an outstanding push out the blocks, a great drive phase, and she got those knees up high and tight, and she looked solid from beginning to end. She didn't look lazy at not one point in that race. She didn't, ease up at the line. She ran through the line, and that's why she got that 1077. And it's win legal. So right now, she is the fastest woman in the world, and that is an impressive time because that indicates she's going to be a threat to possibly make Team USA. Mackenzie Long did defeat Jamesha Ford in the 200. She ran a 22:18, but unfortunately, her time was extremely heavily wind aided. I don't want to really give someone the number one ranking, if their winding rating is three or more. If it's in the twos, that's a barely, wind aided time. But when you're in three and you're beyond, that's a seriously wind aided time. But we can't ignore the fact that she did defeat Jamesha Ford, and I felt it deserved a mention. And speaking of freshmen, you had, Malachi Snow on the men's side, and on the women's side, it was Kaylin Brown of Arkansas. And I had been mentioning this to everyone here. They are capable of running sub 50, and one of them did, and it had to be the freshman. Kaylin Brown, 49.95. This is the fastest freshman I've seen in the women's 400 since Lena Irby of Georgia, when she had that great NCAA championship meet performance when she ran the 49.80. And I'm also convinced Kaylin Brown's probably going to learn that time too. And her teammates weren't too far off. Amber Anning under 50.1. Nikisha Price just a little over 50.1. I'm looking forward to them finally putting together the A squad because we didn't see that again this weekend. I don't know when we're going to see it, but I really do honestly, I'm convinced now they're probably capable of running sub 320 if they're pushed and they're at their best. But that is an impressive time. And then moving to another impressive time, Grace Stark of Florida. This has really been, her year. Waiting for Jasmine Jones, as she hasn't competed yet this outdoor season, but so far in the outdoor season, it's been Grace Stark. 12.56, a school record, a personal best. Happy to see this outdoor season going so well for her after, injuries and up and down outdoor season last year. But great mark, 12.56 for Grace Stark. A really strong headliner for the Florida Gators. She's been outstanding. And then in the 400 hurdles, Savannah Sutherland of Michigan, the defending NCAA champion, who won in a surprise last year because we thought it was going to be Britton Wilson, but she took on too many things. Savannah Sutherland 54.86. And the other surprise is Rachel Glenn of Arkansas hopped in the 400 hurdles as well and ran a 54.9. Remember, she was a state champion on a Wilson Long Beach, a great school for 300 hurdlers, by the way, because they also had LaShinda Demas, who did well at South Carolina. But great Rachel Glenn ran 54.9. So another notch in the Arkansas belt if we're looking at team title hopes. It's like, man, just keep finding all this talent. And then in the 4x4, Arkansas still found a way with two members from their B squad to run 3:26.1. And it wasn't really a challenge. Houston did run 3:28 at the time there was a memorial with them, but they were very strong from the get-go. Now, moving to the second leg, we'll move to the distance. And on the men's side, you have their superstar freshman from Newbury Park, now at Northern Arizona, Colin Solomon, in the 1500, 3:33.96. He's a highly talented recruit coming out of Newbury Park, that really strong program. And he just sort of became the latest distance stud at Northern Arizona. Because don't forget, Nico Young is still there, along with a host of other talented guys. But I think when Nico Young is ready to move on to the next level, which may be after this season, Colin Solomon is proving, okay, at least I got the 1500. He's a freshman, and we don't want to put a lot of heavy expectations, but when you run a 3:33.9, there are going to be expectations. That's a very strong performance. And then on the also on the men's side, at Oklahoma State, you have Bryan Musau in the 5K. Again, that was a school record, one of the best performances we've seen. And it's at Oklahoma State, a strong distance power. For him to run 13:13.29, impressive. And another young guy. So clearly the young guys are not phased. It's been a obvious thing, I think, as of late. But another talented youngster, I think, who's going to do so well within the sport. Alex Phillip, a senior from North Carolina, leading the way in the 10K. We know that field is kind of open. I don't know if it is going to be Nico Young in that, but in the 10K, 27:51.26. Another guy under 28 minutes. There was a couple of them this weekend, but 27:51.26. Strong, solid time, and proof that North Carolina men's distance program has fully moved into top tier status. They are up there with the Northern Arizonas, the Oklahoma States, the Washingtons, and the Oregons. Just strong time, strong, solid performance. And we also can't forget Virginia. And then Abdul Hakim Abu Zahir of Eastern Kentucky in the steeplechase, 8:25.37. He is one of the top guys coming back. I did say it was uh, kind of an open event. We're still waiting to see who could really sort of separate themselves from the pack, and I think he's starting to slowly do that. This is his third mention here, and this is only week 5. So it's becoming kind of clear that he's the guy right now. So I think we can remove it being kind of an open field and move Abdul Hakim into the favor spot. And on the women's side, Michaela Rose. Been a minute since we've mentioned this young woman of LSU in the 800, 158.37, second fastest NCAA history. And give her credit because she's rebounding after what was a shocking defeat at the indoor championships to Juliet Whitaker of Stanford, who we've yet to see yet. But that's an impressive time at the Bryan Clay Invitational. She ran away with it. I want to say she won by almost 3 seconds. Just a very dominant run, which is something we come to expect from Michaela Rose. But I think we can't put her in that driver's seat because we saw what happened indoors and we're still waiting to see what will Juliet Whitaker do. But you can't ignore that time. 158.37. She's moving in the right direction for LSU. And then in the 1500, we had two athletes run the same time. You had Chloe Foster of Washington and Melissa Riggins of Georgetown in the 1500 run 4:07.96. I know that sounds, it's crazy that two athletes run the same time, but it happened. We can't. Riggins has had strong history. She's got some trophies already in her trophy case from conference wins. And Chloe Foster of Washington, I'm going to say this and just be very honest. It was actually very difficult finding a picture from her because the Chloe Foster that keeps pulling up is the one that we used to hurdle for the University of Michigan. That's, how under the radar that Chloe Foster of Washington has been. Hopefully, this will move her up and people will notice because a 4:07.96 is a pretty solid time. In the 5K, you had Hilda Olamomoy of Alabama. We have mentioned her name. She's a competitor not just to 5K but also the 10K. But here she is, the new leader in the 5K, 15:06.42. Strong time. Again, Alabama has not gone anywhere even with the change in coaching. Parker Valby of Florida just broke another NCAA record. It seems that we've mention Parker Valby and NCAA records almost regularly here on this channel, and I don't think that's going to change as long as she's at Florida. Here she is, 30 minutes, 50 seconds, point 43, a new NCAA record in the 10K, and she's just going to continue to grow. I don't know if she's going to try that tough double of a 10K and a 5K, but I had the feeling she was going to move to the 10K. I mentioned that in the preview. Here we are looking at that. Did I expect for her to break the NCAA record in April? No, I did not. But here we are. That's the story. And then her teammate, Elise Thorner of Florida, who transferred to Florida in the steeplechase, 9:28.49. She is the new NCAA leader. Did not win the race, but she was still pretty solid overall. I think Elise Thorner is part of this really strong resurgent distance program at the University of Florida, it was very clear that the hire that Coach Holloway made a complete large amount of sense because it's clearly gone the way that they've wanted it to go. They have a pretty well rounded team. They're waiting for the sprinters to kind of catch up to where the distance runners are at, and I think some of them have. It's specifically Grace Stark, and I think the rest of the team will move forward. I think there are going to be some changes in recruiting for the Gators, but I think this certainly signs that because they were ranked 12th, and again, we don't want to really talk about the team title battle just yet. Maybe next week, maybe at the end of this month. But having Thorner and Valby lead and Gray Stark, they have three leaders nationally. They're going to probably bump to the top five or just outside of it. They have to, and if they had their sprinters like they've had in the past, they probably would be in better position. Shocking news because I just learned this. Ramia Elliott has actually transferred midseason. She is now at Texas, so we probably will seeing her eventually hop on Texas's 4x4 to bolster that. And now moving to our third leg, it is going to be the jumps. And the field events were kind of light this weekend. There were great marks, but very few number one performances. In fact, on the men's side, there were no new jumps number one performances. It's only going to be on the women's side. And it came from Chloe Timberg of Rutgers in the pole vault with a mark of 14:11 and a half or 4.56 meters, almost a 15-foot jump for her. We know that Hannah Mull is kind of the favorite. She did win indoors and beat Timberg, but Timberg, you see that body. She's an outstanding pole vaulter in phenomenal fit shape. And she's a gamer, so expect to see her kind of improve upon her indoor performance. Ida Bregan of UTSA in the long jump, 22, 1.5, 6.74 meters, very slightly wind aided. In fact, I looked at you look at the mark, it's just 2.3, so barely over the allowable. That's a fantastic jump. She is a 22-foot jumper, being coached by Kareem Street Thompson. Clearly, things moving in the right direction for him at UTSA. He's always got a bevy of great jumpers. She's just the next big one, and the first one that we've mentioned in this capacity on this channel. Now, moving to the anchor leg, we're looking at the throws. There was one on the men's side and one on the women's side. Of the men's side, it was Claudio Romero, formerly of Virginia, now at LSU in the discus, 213 feet 1 inches. And we're mentioning him and not Mikolos Alekna, who broke the world record because it's not even listed in the TFRRS or the track and field reporting system. And my wonder, I said, is he competing professionally? That's kind of up in the air because he still shows to be on the roster, but his mark was not reported. So as of right now, he's not listed as number one in the NCAA. Claudio Romero of LSU is. Now, that could change. They could be slow at updating their records, waiting for information because that also has to be ratified to be the world record, but it more than likely will be. That young man, I really hope that he had not gone pro because I want to see him again this outdoor season. What a great thrower! And his dad's a great thrower. His dad, if this stays true, his dad moves to number 3 all time, and his son is number 1. I think that's just fantastic. That's a great sign for him moving forward. I think clearly all the expectations that are placed upon him, he's slowly but surely meeting. All he needs to do now is get a championship. Olympic championship, and that may happen this year, especially with him breaking the world record that has stood since 1986. And I was born in 87, so that record has been around a long time, 38 years, and it's the oldest record in track and field for men. So that is how impressive that young man is. On the women's side, it also was the discus. It was Jaden Ulrich, formerly of Indiana, now at Louisville. 210 feet 11 inches, 64.29 meters. The change clearly has worked for her, and she's moving in the right direction. Shout out to Louisville. They're slowly but surely building a strong field event program. They've had an NCAA champion in the pole vault. They have great high jumpers, great long jumpers, and now they're doing well in their throwing events, specifically the discus. And Jaden Ulrich is proof of that. So things moving in the right direction for Louisville, especially with that really nice brand new track they have. And so that is our recap. A pretty outstanding weekend. A lot of top tier performances, a lot of number one marks. 24 in total, and we're chugging along. And this is where the indoor season doesn't have the same effect as the outdoor season. Here we are, another weekend. We're gonna have a great meet. We have the Mount Sac relays coming this weekend, and then the following weekend get the pin relay. So things should pick up. It should be quite interesting. Not only do you have the Mount Sac relay meet this weekend, you have the Georgia Tech Invitational this weekend. I will be there. And that should draw in some interesting competition. Although I'm looking at the Mount Sac relay invites, and it seems that a lot of teams are heading their way out west. And that's becoming an even more premier meet since they've updated that stadium. And kudos to the Mount Sac Relay. It's becoming an even better meet because it's always been a top tier meet, but it's kind of not been one of the big guns, and it is now. So that will be our recap. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Your feedback is appreciated, whether positive or negative. And my question to you is, what did you think of this weekend, and what are you most excited for with the Mount Sac relays? And also keep an eye out for a possible preview video. Thanks again, guys. Have a good one.